It's time for Recipe of the Day. It is absolutely true that even when my mom makes processed food or convenience food, she has to do something homemade to make it extra special and delicious, which is how this easy chicken and dumpling soup came about. So when I was growing up, if my mom made us that like Lipton's chicken noodle soup, just like a packet that you add boiling water to, she would never just leave it at that. She would make some homemade dumplings to drop into the soup. They were so good. I loved those dumplings so much. And so now I do a homemade easy chicken soup and I put those dumplings in it. It brings back such good memories. I can't wait for you to try this. So before I tell you to make it, I just want to be clear that these dumplings aren't like light and fluffy dumplings. They're just a little bit heavier. They're somewhere between like a noodle and spatzel, but a little bit bigger. So that's what you're getting is these like just comforting, noodly, thick things floating in your soup. I think you're going to love it. Okay, so what you're going to do is start by heating up some low sodium chicken stock or broth. I like to just pour the 6 cups of it into a big microwave safe bowl and stick that in the microwave and it starts heating while I start sauteing the other ingredients in the pot. You can of course just wait and add the stock to the vegetables later, or you can have 2 pots going. Any of that is fine. But what I'm going to do is put 6 cups of stock into a microwave safe bowl and put that in the microwave for 6 minutes or so. And then I'm getting out my soup pot and I'm adding a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. The butter really, I think, makes it taste like it's richer, like it's been simmering all day. I think of it kind of like how sometimes chicken soups are made with that schmaltz, the chicken fat. It kind of does that, you know? Okay, so to the olive oil and butter in your pot over medium-high heat, add 2 cups of shredded carrots that you've roughly chopped. Now, what I mean here is the carrots that are sold already shredded or like matchstick carrots. That's what I love to go in with. They're just super easy. Just run my knife through them quickly. No peeling, no fuss. But of course, if you don't have those carrots and you have some baby carrots, just give those a nice slicing so that they're, you know, like 1/8 of an inch thick. Or if you have whole carrots, you can peel those and also slice them very thinly. And you want 2 cups of carrots into your pot with the oil and the butter and 1 medium onion chopped. And you're just cooking that over the medium-high heat to get it sort of started and softened. You can do that slower if you want on a lower heat. It will take a little bit longer and you won't risk it browning at all. But if I'm in a hurry on a Monday night like tonight, then I crank the heat up. Okay, then once those are softened and the microwave is done, you're going to pour that stock over the onions and the carrots. And to that, you're adding some chicken. I'm using 3 boneless, skinless chicken thighs that are cut into bite-sized pieces. I like using the chicken thigh here because it has that like juicier meatiness to it. It lends more flavor to the soup, but you can of course use leftover chicken or chicken breast, whatever you have. I'm adding them raw and they're going to cook in the soup, but if you're adding cooked chicken, you would just add it in a little bit later. Okay, so your chicken is going into that pot along with half a teaspoon of salt. Stir that up, put the lid on it, increase the heat to high. When it comes up to a boil, then you reduce it down to a simmer. Now, while that soup is coming up to the boil and then simmering, you make your dumpling dough. Get a small bowl and to it add a cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a stir and then crack in 2 eggs and whisk that up to combine it. You're going to also add in some fresh parsley, just a small handful of that chopped up, or you can use dried parsley flakes. This I really like in there. It reminds me of those little flecks of green in that Lipton chicken noodle soup I was telling you about that my mom used to make when we were kids. So that is why I have them in there, not really for flavor. You can totally skip them if you want to, but I'm going to assume that you're not. So you add the parsley into that dough, and then you just add enough milk to make a stiff wet dough. So you're drizzling in somewhere between 3 to 6 tablespoons. You just drizzle and stir, drizzle and stir. If you scoop it up with a spoon and drop it back down in, it should slide off of the spoon, but not drizzle off of the spoon, okay? Now we add that dough to the soup. So get the soup to like a really low simmer. So it's like barely bubbling at all. And that's just because we don't want the bubbles to disturb our dumplings and cause them to break apart. apart. And then you're going to drop the dough by the teaspoonful, going kind of around the pot or like opposite sides of the pot so that the wet dough doesn't stick to other bits of wet dough. Okay. So like you drop one on the far side of the pot away from you and then drop one closer to you, then drop one over to the right, drop one over to the left, then go back towards somewhere near the back of the pot. And you just kind of keep working like that until all of the dough has been dropped into the soup. Then don't do anything for a good 30 seconds. That's going to let those dumplings start to set, and then just give it a gentle stir. Increase the heat then to a stronger simmer and cover the pot, and you're just going to let that cook for 3 to 4 minutes, getting those dumplings good and cooked. By then the chicken is cooked for sure. You're going to turn the heat off, and then final nice little touch is to add 6 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. That's heavy cream. It just makes the soup a slightly creamy soup. Goes really well with those dumplings. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.